It's 5:01, and we'll call the Barron County Board of Supervisors for Monday, January 17th, 2022 into order, and have roll call and public notification.
Ready for my public notification?
Yep.
All right. I, Jessica Hvac, Deputy County Clerk, have complied with open meeting public notification laws. Meeting notices are posted on the electronic meeting notice boards on the first and second floor of the Government Center and the main floor of the Justice Center. In addition, all 5 of the county newspapers have been notified.
I won't roll call. Am I doing that at the end?
You are actually the first one. So Louis Oki,
Here.
Russ Rinzig,
Here.
Todd Gerland, I think he's online.
He's online.
Okay.
Here.
Jerry McRoberts.
Here.
Marv Thompson. Is he online?
Present.
He's online too.
Bun Hansen. Anybody see Bun?
I haven't seen Bun.
Okay. Stacy Wenzel.
She's online.
Dana Heller.
Here.
Bob Anderson said he was going to be absent tonight. Stan Buchanan.
Here.
Don Horseman was going to be absent this evening. Bill Efforts, was he online?
Yeah, Bill's online.
Bert Skinner.
Here.
Dale Heineke. Bob Rogers was virtual.
He's online.
Oscar Scobe was
He's
virtual.
online.
Here.
John Pitts.
Here.
Terry Lee.
Here.
I also
Carolyn Bartlett. Here. Pam Fall.
absent.
Okay. Bill Schradel.
Present.
Gary Taxtel.
Hello.
Here.
Jim Gores.
Present.
Gary Nelson.
Here.
Punky Mosentine.
Nope, you've got to connection.
I don't see her anywhere.
Okay. Pete Olson.
Who?
Pete Olson.
He's absent also.
Okay.
Okay.
Steve Johnson.
Here.
Pete Olson's logging on.
Carol Mullen.
Here.
And Eric Panier.
He's online.
Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 absent this evening.
Yeah, it showed 10 remote, 13 are here, and 6 are absent, but I think Pete Olson's trying to hook on right now, and I'm not sure about Punky. Okay, item number 2, our invocation by Pastor Cody with the Maranatha Church in Rice Lake.
Again, County Board, I want to thank you for allowing prayer and pledge allegiance to our flag. If you would join me in a word of prayer. Father God, I come before you and I thank you for the past year that you've given us. We now embark on a new year. And as we've seen the last 2 years, we truly need patience and we need wisdom. So I just pray a special blessing over the county board that you'd give them patience, give them wisdom, because even though this year is kind of unknown, we know that you control all things and we submit to that, Lord. And I pray that you would just give them wisdom, give them patience, and give them peace above all things. This I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pastor, are you not the head of the Law Enforcement Foundation?
Yes.
And I think you should lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Pastor Cody.
Okay. Item number 3, special matters and announcements.
Let me just take care of a couple things.
Before, I'll jump to 4 while Jeff's doing that. On our agenda, I'd like to combine items 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 into a single consent item. 4 of the 5 items are something we do annually. The other one's the state patrol thing, which is not very controversial. Does anybody got any issues with that?
13 through 16, you said?
It'd be 12 through 16 would be one item. Is that a motion? Motion to approve the agenda with items 12 through 16 as one single consent item, and seconded by Supervisor Heller. Yeah, those, yes. Okay, all those in favor of approving that agenda as amended indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign? That motion's carried. Okay, Pete Olson is now on too.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, for board members, please remember at the end of the month to get your timesheets in to Jess. Get them in as timely as possible. For tonight, show us a little patience. Jody's out sick, so we're running all of our technology through Lance. And so everybody's aware there's 4 cameras operating in the room tonight. There's one there that's wide angle. This one will be pointing at Louis. and these two will be here. So if you're on YouTube, you're gonna have 4 different ways to see this, and the cameras are active and have very good mics. So anything that you say will go out on YouTube, whether you're here or out there. They're gonna hear what you have to say. So if you're on our YouTube channel, you're probably gonna see it better on the YouTube channel than you are here. So anyway, that's what I have in special matters in the know.
Can everybody that's remotely on the board, can you hear us and everything's going okay? Okay, great.
We're not gonna turn the lights on up here because then we wash this out. It makes it hard for them. We practiced this afternoon, so.
Okay. There was some discussion in April, we're meeting at Mosaic, but if this one goes as well as it has so far, we'll be here for February and March, so we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, item number 5, approve the minutes of the December 20th, 2021 meeting. Motion by Supervisor Renzig, second by Supervisor Banks. Is there any discussion or concerns? Not, all those in favor of passing those minutes indicate by saying aye.
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 Raise your, go like this. If you're don't like them, say nay. Okay, we're up, and then they're passed. Okay, public comment. We have 2 this evening. One by Pastor Cody. You're up first, and I guess stand right there, probably be good.
Sounds good. My name is Cody Cargus. I live in Rice Lake, Wisconsin. One of the hats I also wear in this county is I'm the president of the Law Enforcement Foundation of Barron County, where we receive funds, charitable funds, and help to come alongside law enforcement in our county in a variety of ways, with helping with donations, canine, different things like that, helping with shop for the cop. What I'm about to share, if you could hold your applause. January 9th in our nation every year is it's the national day where we have the Law Enforcement Appreciation Day for all law officers in our nation. And every year in Rice Lake, for the past 5 years, I've been working with the schools, getting kids to draw letters for the officers in Rice Lake. I'm also their chaplain, so that's one of my roles, to kind of be a liaison between the community and the police department. The students for the past 5 years have been drawing letters, doing a bunch of stuff for the officers, and then we fill up their whole hallway. I fill their boxes full of, at least every officer gets over 20 letters thanking them, pictures drawn by little kids. It's an amazing time. We've now expanded that to having every school in our county doing that for all of the officers, the municipalities from Cumberland, Chetek, Turtle Lake, all around, doing the same thing, and it's been a great, great thing that we've been doing. Also, some of the schools don't have police departments, so they do it for the deputies. I've personally seen firsthand what our law enforcement does in this county. And I want you to know they go above and beyond with dignity, being brave, being honest, even in humor. They fulfill the tasks that are given before them. So as I said, hold your applause. Even though January 9th is already gone, I'm going to do my best to let you guys know beforehand next year so we can find ways in our county to support our law enforcement as we should every day. So let's take a moment and thank, even though Chris is here, others might be watching, we want to thank our law enforcement for all that they do, and you are very much appreciated.
Thank you, Cody. Second item, Heidi Weiss. Did you also stand there and name and address?
Okay, Heidi Wise, 746 21st Street in Chetek. And I wanted to come here today to publicly thank you, Chairman Oki, for standing up for your citizens. When you made the announcement and when Jeff French made the announcement alongside you about changing the meeting back to this building so that you did not continue to comply or be complicit in an unconstitutional mask mandate at the school, you made the right call. I don't care what your motivation was for that. You may have done it because you said, you know what, we've been thinking about this and that is the right call and that's what we need to be doing. Or you may have said, I don't want a confrontation with that Heidi Wise again. I don't care the reason. I really don't. The fact is that you did it. And I can't even tell you how happy I was to see that announcement. And I know there are many other people who were happy as well. That was the right call. And I want to urge you and encourage you as a local body of government. You have more power than you think. I often hear that phrase, well, the state, the Fed, and all that. I was at an incredible seminar on Saturday where I heard stories. I heard a story of a county in Illinois when Governor Pritzker issued his unconstitutional mandate that businesses had to close. there was one little county in the corner of the state that got together and said, oh, no, you don't. And they said, we are not closing our businesses. And they made it clear to all of their businesses, you will stay open or you can stay open, whatever you want. And they talked to their law enforcement and they said, if anybody tries to come in this county from the state to shut you down, the law enforcement, they have the authority to shut them down. That's what you can do. And as a result of that, I can tell you what happened. Pritzker, of course, bloviated for the next 3 days about he was going to hold the federal funding and pull the state funding, and he was going to punish that county. A week later, he had to drop his mandate because that one county stood up. That's the power you have. Now, on Saturday, we have Take Back Your Health, and we have another opportunity for us to learn about the kind of power we have as local people. And one of our speakers is an attorney, and his topic is how radical localism can save American liberty. That's a great opportunity. He's speaking at 12:30. You can come and learn about his ideas for how local government can really push back on some of the tyranny that we're seeing. And I want to encourage all of you to come. We appreciate those of you who did attend our November event, which was very successful, very popular. People loved it. And we reach out to you in all good faith to say, we'd love to have you here. So I will leave some of these here, and I can also send an electronic copy, but I invite you and encourage you to 10 to 2 in Hvac on Saturday at the mill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heidi.
Well, I just want to say one thing about, she alluded to the fact, elected officials, I've read a big article about what Chris here, the power a sheriff has. He's been elected by the county populace here to do things. Some unelected official within whatever government structure does not have the power. He has the power to go ahead and do what I consider is right, and he has done that. I want to applaud him for that.
There's no doubt, yeah, he doesn't have to do everything he's doing, and he's a fabulous sheriff, so you're right. Okay, item number 7, Northwood Texas College, Dr. John Well would like to give us a presentation. Right there, John, be good.
Everybody hear me okay?
Can people online hear President Well?
Let me just do it. All right, perfect. Well, I want to thank you for having me here tonight. I also want to let you know that I'm a resident of Barron County. I live in Thomas Lake and grew up in Ladysmith, so grew up not too far from here, but I'm a lifelong resident of the area. And I've been getting a lot of questions about what's been happening at the college lately, partially due to COVID and for some other reasons. I periodically try to get around to the county boards to talk to them about what's going on at the college. If you don't know, the county boards have a critical role to play in our governance structure. County board chairs participate in our board appointment process and select board of trustees. Sheriff Fitzgerald is our current chair, so I want to thank him for his service as well. Tonight I'm going to talk to you that white area on that map of Wisconsin is Northwood Technical College's footprint. There's 16 tech colleges in Wisconsin, and we're one of those 16. Everybody's probably familiar with the Rice Lake campus, but we have a lot of other locations throughout Northwest Wisconsin. When I talk about college information, I'll be talking about the whole college tonight. And then I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time talking about the Shell Lake Health Education Center. We've got some changes happening there that I want to highlight. If you're interested in what's happening in Barron County specifically in these white folders that I handed out, there's some county-specific information highlighted the Barron County columns, so you can see how many students we're serving from Barron County and a summary of that kind of information. Our college has more than 100 different programs that offer a credential. They fall into 3 main buckets: associate degrees, technical diplomas, and certificate programs. Associate degrees are generally 2 years in length. Technical diplomas can be 2 years or less. And certificate programs don't lead to a credential that's eligible for financial aid, but we do have certificate programs that are valuable for different reasons throughout our region. Even I'm obviously not going to go through all 100 programs, but I'll talk about a few of them a little bit later. We're also a nationally recognized college, and this we probably need to do a better job of promoting. We regularly get recognized by a variety of different media outlets and other organizations. The most recent one is the Aspen Institute. They're a national organization. There's about 1,000 two-year colleges in the country, and we've regularly been named one of the top 150. And there's other places too. Forbes magazine named us the top 22 trade school, and we've regularly received top 50 rankings for the services that we provide in our communities. A lot of those rankings are based on outcomes. I think people know in Wisconsin that technical colleges generally design their programming to create occupational outcomes, positive occupational outcomes. 95% of our graduates for the spring of 2021 graduate cohort had a job within 6 months, and their average compensation was a little over $43,000. That actually seems a little bit low, but remember that these are graduates from this last spring. We've had some wage inflation since then, so I would anticipate that this spring's graduates probably will see a higher number than that. If we look at it in a little bit more detail, by those degree types that I referenced earlier, the two on the left, associate degrees and two-year technical diplomas, traditionally have had the highest pay rate, which kind of makes sense because there's more education there. And one-year technical diplomas this cycle came in actually below the short-term technical diploma category. And the reason for that is probably easiest to just show you. Our top 5 highest paying programs were associate degree of nursing. I don't think anybody would be surprised by that. Truck driving is the one that drove that short-term technical diploma. So that's a relatively new program. It's in its 3rd year at our college. It's only 10 credits, and if you follow the issues with supply chain and that kind of those kinds of problems in our economy right now, you know that there's a shortage, not necessarily of people who have CDLs, but people who are working in that field. And when someone does graduate, they're a hot commodity, and so they've been seeing pretty good wages for a relatively short-term program. Welding is a 1-year program, a technical program. Accounting is an associate degree program, and then a 2-year technical diploma. An example of that is HVAC. So we got kind of those 3 buckets of different types of programming, all represented in this top five list. Once students graduate, we also do a study 5 years after they graduate. So this information is from the 2013-14 cohort of graduates. And this is pretty typical in all the tech colleges throughout Wisconsin. I see typically about a 50% increase in wages 5 years after graduation. That's important because people get good jobs, but they continue to have a really positive career trajectory after they leave our institution. One thing that leads to that is a lot of hard work with university partners. In our last strategic plan, one thing that we wanted to guarantee students who enter one of our associate degree programs is that they would have a smooth pathway to a university if they wanted to pursue additional education. So now all of our associate degree programs have an agreement with the university so that they can enter as a junior. And what I really like about that is a lot of times if someone goes to our college, gets a job, their employer will help them pay for the cost of their education. So that student debt issue that we hear a lot about in the news, there's a way for people to go to school and not have to incur debt. I think your county administrator is one of those folks who took advantage of that pathway, if I remember correctly. And so that's something that we worked really hard on and are glad that we have that to offer people in our region. It also works the other direction. We partner with high schools throughout the region. So those, you can't read it very well, but those are all the high schools. We have 44 different school districts within that footprint on that first map. And when we work with the school districts to identify teachers who can be credentialed to teach college classes. And then we basically hand over our curriculum, and the teacher, when they teach that, when they do that, it means that they get credit in high school and they also get credit for college classes. So if students were to have to take those classes by enrolling in a college, if you take our tuition rate times the credits that they've earned, it totals a little under $700,000 in value. That's actually, last year, if I would have presented this, was about $1 million, but that's been one of the areas that's been affected by COVID. We've seen fewer students taking advantage of those transcripted credit opportunities. Speaking of COVID, I don't really want to talk about this, but I get questions about it on a regular basis, so I thought I would just put this slide together to kind of nip it in the bud. This information is as of January 5th. And the reason I picked that date is that represents a snapshot in time of essentially our first term at the college, the first semester. You'll see we had 76 exposures on campus. I'm looking at the two columns on the right. We had 76 exposures on campus, and quarantine isolation requirements resulted in 333 employees and students being affected. We have about 4,000 to 4,500 people who would access services on campuses. So that means a little less than 1 in 10 people were affected directly in some way by COVID. Some people think that's a big number. Some people think it's a small number. It was manageable last term. We had 5 programs that had to go remote due to attendance issues at different points, but they all got back, and all of the students were able to continue on their programming. Next question I usually get, especially now because we've had these disruptions, is what's been happening with enrollment. And enrollment is a little bit tricky to talk about because we measure it in different ways. The bar chart on the left measures head count. And so those are unduplicated people that we serve throughout the region. You can see on that chart that in FY20, we had a dip. And that was, in that year, we had a partial year where we were affected by COVID. A lot of the classes that we ran in person and outreach type activities like exercise classes we just simply didn't do it in the second half of that year once COVID hit. And then you can see a full year impact in FY21, another drop. And then this year, if you can see it really well, you can see that there's a little bit of an increase. We expect to serve a little over 15,000 people this year, which is below our historical average, but headed in the right direction. FTE is another way of looking at enrollment, and what that represents is the number of instructional hours that we provide in total. We add all of them together, and then we divide by 30. The reason we divide by 30 is 30 instructional hours represents a full-time credit load for a student. So that would be the same as a student going to college full-time. So it's a way to compare institutions, different kinds of institutions to each other. You can see there that was impacted a little bit less than our head count, but it also is not headed in the right direction. It's actually decreasing a little bit this year. And when you put these two together, what the story that it tells is that we're serving more people this year than we did last year, but they're tending to take shorter-term programming or attending part-time. And so that's the situation that we're dealing with in a way to sort of summarize what's been happening with enrollments over the last couple of years. And then you probably haven't been able to miss this. If we're doing our job well, you've seen a billboard or a sign at the campus. This is the new college brand. So the top is what hopefully you've been seeing. I'm going to mention on the bottom left there, that's Blaze the Bear. And Blaze is going to come out of hibernation here in February. We're going to have a mascot. And so the question that I often get then is, are you going to have sports? The answer is no. We have a lot of students who compete. They participate in Skills USA or DECA or BPA, and they do really, really well. Sometimes they place nationally. And so Blaze is going to help us recognize those students and celebrate their success in all the communities, and hopefully get some younger people interested in the kind of education that we're providing. And then on the right, you probably won't see that as much. That's our official college seal, and that's reserved for official college documents like diplomas and transcripts. So just wanted to make you aware of those changes. If you see those things, that you know that they're associated with our college. So the Health Education Center in Rice Lake, I'm really excited by this project. One of the things that we've struggled with the last couple of years is clinical placements. So we know that our healthcare system, they're very busy with lots of different things right now. And they also, one of the roles they play is they partner with us and give students a hands-on experience before they graduate. So our nurses graduate after doing multiple clinical rotations at area healthcare providers. And they were stressed. That was one of the effects of COVID as well, is that they became stressed. When we researched how we could recreate a clinical environment, what we found is that some institutions have created simulation centers. And the building in Shell Lake, which some of you may know as our administrative office, is being converted right now into instructional space to be a simulation center that will serve all of Northwest Wisconsin. So when you go in there, it's going to feel more like you're entering a clinic. there's gonna be exam rooms. Instead of live patients in the exam rooms, there'll be high-tech mannequins. They're pretty neat and realistic. Students will come in, they'll have heart rate monitors and all the things you'd see in an exam room or a hospital. And the faculty can control the responses of the mannequins so that if a student is supposed to administer blood pressure medication, but they administer 2 pills, then they'll have a heart attack. And one of the kind of the joke I make is if you poke them, they say ouch. And so that building is going to serve a really critical purpose. It should actually decrease the amount of time students need to spend in clinicals because it's a controlled environment. So if you think about doing a clinical in an actual setting, you have to wait for certain things to happen to demonstrate competencies. In this building, we'll be able to control that, so students will be able to learn it before they get into the field. We're not eliminating all of our clinicals because that's really an important learning experience. But at that beginning phase, we have an opportunity to use the simulation center to recreate it. And then I'm hoping that this comes up. Looks like it's loading. So Lance, don't play it quite yet. I'm going to explain it. This is, our marketing has changed a lot. We're really, our college is part of the workforce solution. Everybody's heard about the workforce shortage. So we're really trying to work hard on attracting people to our college. If you notice our website, it's northwoodtech.edu, and that tech part, we kind of stole it from Michigan Tech. They've done a really nice job of making that university be branded as a high-tech place to learn, and we're going to try to do that with Northwood Tech. And so we're going to be emphasizing the high-tech aspects of what we do, so people know that there's those good employment outcomes waiting for them if they go through our college. And so if it loads, and if the audio works, if you want to play that. All right, so you might not see that. That's a commercial, and you might not see it if you're not in our target market, because the way that gets delivered isn't on WAU. It's through streaming services like Hulu or through social media. And so if you're someone who's in the target market we're trying to recruit, that commercial might pop up for you to click on.
I've seen it at the movie theater too.
Yeah, we run it in places like that as well. So that's one unfortunate thing about the way marketing is working with technology, is that it's not as visible to the whole community. It's great because you can target certain segments of the population. We can push out commercials to students who maybe are interested in truck driving. There are really a lot of sophisticated ways that our marketing team does those kinds of things, but it's not as widely visible to the general public. So I thought I'd just share one example for you to take a look at. And with that, again, open up for any questions.
If Shell Link's going to, the healthcare area, where's the administrative offices going?
My office now is in Rice Lake, but I have a small office on each of the campuses, so I'm kind of portable. And then we have our administration for the last 15 years has been becoming dispersed throughout the region. And so we have a lot of, maybe know Craig Fowler, you get a kick out of me using his name here. He started out his career as a campus administrator, and that was his one job. As his career evolved, he became a vice president who oversaw all of our continuing education operation and also wore the hat of campus administrator. So we kind of piled on 2 roles. And so we've been doing that for a fairly long period of time. So there is really no main office for the college. And as this last couple of years has transpired, one of the ways we've been able to manage that enrollment decline financially is by doing more remote meetings. Like you've got lots of people online, so our travel budgets have fallen off a cliff, and they'll never come back. We'll never restore those. That's going to be a permanent change for us.
Does anybody have any questions online or here?
I got one. What do you call it? Last last week there in the news and stuff like that, I guess I've seen there where, they were talking there that the truck driving one, where they wanted to maybe make it, legal for 18 and 19-year-olds to do trucking and stuff like that versus, right now, I think you're ordered over state lines have to be 21.
I think
Is
you're
there,
right
so
about that.
what, do you see what would be happening with that? As far as maybe making like 19 or 20-year-olds be able to go out over the road, national runs?
So not trying to pump that one, but it's a licensing issue, and we don't really weigh in on licensing issues. The Department of Transportation, I believe in that case, would make the rule, and then if students are eligible, then we try to recruit them. I don't really have a lot of guidance on how that's gonna shake out. If students become eligible, then we would
Well,
we
we're
would
probably,
offer
we're
them.
probably not going to get much for students that come in there until they're 19 or 20 years old.
See, actually, our average age for all of our programs is 27, and so I would guess it would even be older than that. And I, some other statistics, when I talked to the chair about my meeting, allotment of time, he said about 10 minutes, so I didn't.
Go
cover
ahead.
Some of the stuff. No, I'm kidding. But, about 65% of our students in the undergraduate programs are part-time. And again, the average age is 27, and so I think you're likely to see people even older than that. You don't get a lot of kids right out of high school coming from some program like truck driving.
Bill?
So, I see your associate nursing degree, so does all those credits say they wanna go to Eau Claire nursing, that automatically transfer right down there, all the credits?
Yep, it's called a program-to-program articulation degree, but that's the fancy term for it.
Okay.
And UW Eau Claire gives our students credit. And we actually have a partnership with them also that reserves 6 spots in our program for students who didn't get into the 4-year program at Eau Claire.
All right,
And so we have a really strong collaboration with them in nursing.
so they will get an actual 4-year nursing degree then if they proceeded through the whole course.
Absolutely, that's probably the model program where that happens.
Yep.
So it's, we have students who work really, really hard, overcome a lot of barriers to become a nurse, close to home, and then they have a fantastic opportunity, usually at least partially paid for by an employer to get the 4-year degree. We have nurses who have doctorates and end up running, being charge nurses and nursing that, can't pronounce that word, help me out, somebody, anesthetists. And that's one thing that I think has been changing over the last 20 years. One of the reasons why we want to change our image is because we shouldn't be talking either or about technical education or something else. It all fits together, and you can go to our college and you can have an endpoint, but you can also use it as a starting point. And that's something that we've been really working hard to try to change over the last 10 years, I would say.
Thank you.
Any further questions, anybody? John, you did a nice job, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, item number 8, update on the highway facilities and auditorium upgrades. Chad, you're up. Bet.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Give you a little update on where we're at and what we've completed so far to date on the highway project. And Zach's gonna touch base on the four-week schedule and some of the shipping and supply chain things that we've been running into here the last few months. On the west side, starting out with the wash bay, we did receive garage door panels, but that's about all we received. So as far as your motors, your photo eyes and all that kind of stuff, that is still on order and it's still waiting to be shipped. But we did get our garage door panels, get our garage door installed, so we can take out our temporary closures now. Painting's at 90% complete. We have a small portion of the electrical room and mechanical room that we have to finish painting, and might some touch-ups throughout the building. Electricians have all the lights hung in the south bay. That is the non-automated car wash side. We got all the wires pulled, and they are just waiting for electricity to show up on that side. On the north side of the bay, they're just starting to run their conduits and starting to hang the lights on the north side. The plumbers are about 75% complete. They're waiting for a lot of the car wash parts and pieces should show up. As of right now, we're still waiting on 3 tanks from Hydrocam to show up, so we can finish and start installing the car wash portion. HVAC contractor is about 90% complete. Once again, we're waiting on a few parts and pieces that have been on order for a long time, so just kind of hanging out waiting for them to show up. We are in contact with these vendors every week trying to find out when and if they got any shipping dates on it. The items are still missing. UH1, or better known as a new ARDC. Overall, it's 90% complete. The painters have taken in money left in the 2 mechanical rooms and the electrical room and the restroom. Electrician has completed all his rough-ins, and he's got all the electrical wires pulled back to the panel. Plumbers just are waiting for the painters to finish taping and mudding so they can install the toilet, sink, and paint dryers, and that type of item. Moving over to the east side, we are 95% complete with all footings. So we've been working diligently through the cold weather and tarping everything off and pouring still pouring and keeping temporary tents built with own foundations so we can keep things going. They are 95% complete with those. The plumbers have completed all their underground rough-ins for the whole main facility. Precaster, the crane is erected on site. We are, based on today's weather report at 3 o'clock, I have a meeting with Hvac and the crane supplier tomorrow morning. Weather for the rest of the week, Tuesday night, -23. We need a -5 to start the crane. It's gotta be -5 and rising. So Tuesday night coming into Wednesday morning is not looking good for us. With the -23 degrees of wind chill and winds Wednesday morning at 35. Come Wednesday night, the overnight low is 14 and the high for Thursday is 2. So, and in order for the crane to get fired up, we have to have positive weather. You know, it's gotta be climbing because it takes an hour for the unit to fire up and go through the hydraulic checks. And then an hour is a quick time. It's looking like probably an hour and a half, 2 hours before they can get the crane fully functional with all the hydraulics and the fluids. So everything's gotta be functional before they start shipping panels out of Chippewa. So that's we're having a coordination meeting tomorrow. Make sure that we can get everything up here in a timely fashion when the crane is ready to go and start setting panels. Jump over the salt brine area. We have 75% of the foundations in for that salt brine mixing room. We have the piers left to drill and pour, which we've been kind of focusing on the main facility, trying to get that 100% complete. So we're ready when the precast shows up. Steel erector will follow right behind him. Precast right now is set at 40 days of the erection, business things erection. Steel erection will follow right behind it, 50 days. And the roofers will have 40 days start to finish. Roofers start on 3/16 is what we've got penciled in right now. But if we have a nasty February, it could push that a little bit. But we are gonna push as hard as we can on that. We are fully mechanically fastened on the roofing. That is the one nice thing. So when they place the insulation on the steel deck, it gets screwed into place. And then the overlaps on the TPO are welded. But it still has to be a decent temperature to weld in the plastic. Hopping over to Zach, we'll let him run through the 4-week schedule here and kind of the shipping delays that we've been seeing shortly.
All right, so he's touched on some of it. I'm just going through here again real quick of what can be seen happen on the site in the next 4 weeks here. I'm gonna start on the west side of the road with Wash Bay. So right now my electricians are going full steam ahead right now, working through getting all the electrical done and all the finish, actually starting on some of the finished electrical work as well. Like Chad said, in South Bay, the lights are fully installed and everything. We've actually tested them out and it's very bright inside there now. We are still waiting on a few items electrical wise. The panels, we have received some of it for main gear wise in order to actually get full power into there. It is 3-phase, so a lot of the materials that we need are a little more special order at this point in time. I'm still staying in contact with the electrician daily on site, just seeing when they can give me updates on when material will arrive. At this point, we're expecting, end of January here, before February starts, I should have everything for the wash bay, to get that fully energized. Also happening inside the wash bay, I'm gonna have, my steel, so I have some steel showing up still, basically the stairs inside there and a few miscellaneous parts and pieces will be showing up here within the next 1 to 2 weeks here to start getting installed. And then also the overhead doors, so all of the overhead doors are stacked in place. So they're in the tracks, they're in the holes, they're sealed. I do not have any openers. The openers are gonna be my main issue at this point in time. Again, staying in contact with my contractors daily, just trying to see when they can update me on when they're gonna get it. The problem being is the supplier that they're getting them from can't seem to give them an update on them either. So we'll just stay on top of them constantly until we can get those installed. The last thing we're kind of waiting on right now in the wash bay is the Hydrocam equipment or the automatic wash equipment. Most of my MEP stuff is already completely installed. I have my HVAC systems installed. I have my plumbing installed up to a certain point. Basically, we're having the same supply chain issues. There's 3 tanks that I can't seem to get. I've heard rumors that they're stuck on the west coast somewhere at this point in time still, and have been for the past month. So again, staying in contact with Hydrocam to try and get an update from them as soon as I possibly can. But again, it seems as though the supplier that they're getting their stuff from can't quite nail a date down for me yet, so I don't have an exact time of when we want to have it done. But when it does show up, I have Cooper on standby at this point in time to show up immediately to start getting the rest of the process piping for that there as well. Touching on UH1, we only have a few items left inside UH1. I plan to have the paint and all of that finished work completed in the next 3 weeks in that building. With that being said, I'm still in garage doors. At this point, my thermocore garage doors, which would be my regular garage doors, they're separate from the polycarbonate ones I have at the wash bay. It's looking like April. We had those on order last year. It would have been in July. I'm not going to see those thermocore doors until April, it sounds like. Again, I'll stay in contact with them because there's always a chance that could technically push some more. I'm hoping not, because just supply chain issues, still trying to get materials. Insulation is a big one right now. They can't seem to get their hands on it anywhere. So once I receive those, then UH1 will be complete. UH2 is on hold for right now. We have not dug the footings and foundations because we just didn't quite have time to get to it through the winter time here. We are planning on starting that immediately in the spring. Once the weather turns good, we're going to start them right away. We just wanted to make sure that we got the main facilities, footings and foundations installed first, since we are expecting precast here in the winter time. Salt shed, same thing. We got probably 3/4 of the footings and foundations installed for the salt shed. I'm just waiting on my sound tubes to get installed. But again, we concentrated on going to the main facility to get those footings and foundations installed first, knowing that we have precast showing up eventually. So salt shed is another one that will start immediately in the spring. I am working with BNS. They are concrete contractors, so they're the ones that are working on getting all that completed. They are set up for basically the first warm weather week that we can get when we get the frost out of the ground and start in those buildings.
We did receive all of the trusses and all the materials to build the addition and the lean-to on the salt shed. We received that 2 weeks ago now. So.
Yep. I'll touch on the main facility here quick too before I get into all the material stuff that I'm going to go over with you as well. Main facility, we should have foundations complete within the next 2 weeks. Of course, weather dependent. If I have negative 20 to 24 degree weather going into Wednesday morning, my concrete guys won't be working outside. It's just a bit too dangerous for them at that point in time. So we are planning on having that done within the next 2 weeks. That'll be fully complete. At this point, with the weather that we're seeing, we're estimating to have precast on site the 26th. So it's going to be 1 week after this Wednesday. So we're delaying it 1 week. I have confirmation from my precast supplier that we still plan to hold the schedule that I have in place. So even though we're pushing the start a week, We plan to actually work with the contractor and they plan to work extra longer hour days, 5/10s if we have to, in order to stay on schedule and get back on. Because I have hollow core plank showing up at a certain time and we're holding that date firm. So we don't plan to see any slippage in the schedule at this point. We're just gonna work some longer hour days once we do get precast going, to make sure we hold what we have at this point. So just to kind of touch on some of the material, you've heard some of it already. Specifically the thermocore doors and the polycarbonate doors. The polycarbonate doors I have on site finally, but they were something that would have been ordered back in July, and normally I would have on site within 2-3 weeks usually. I was promised in October by my contractor and didn't actually get them on site until January 6th. So, and then at this point, they're also not even fully operational. They're not even manually operable at this point in time. They're just gigantic heavy doors sitting in place that I can't move. So that's one of the material issues we've had. Windows is another one. Again, it would have been ordered back in July. Normally would have been processed within about a month. I just got them on site here last Friday, I believe it was, January 14th. They just showed up on site. So I now have all of my windows on site for the entire project. They're all stored in Conex boxes and safe. So that's a plus there as well. Electrical panels equipment, I touched on that with the wash bay. They've been a delay for me for a while now. I have some of these stuff on site. So my electricians have been able to actually progress a little bit and work towards getting the wash bay fully electrified to the full power it needs. But we're still missing a few parts and pieces.
It's kind of funny on that one. They'll send us the cover for a panel, and then a week, 2 weeks come by, and they'll send us the actual tub that it comes with. And then a couple weeks go by, and then you'll get the guts or the internal.
Yeah, so the important stuff I didn't get until just recently. So they're working on getting that installed right now. I should have the wash bay fully charged here relatively soon. But UH1 and the existing metal building on site, I won't have powered up because I'm still missing transformers and panels for those buildings as well. Again, just staying on top of my contractors to give me updates as soon as they can. Just with what's been going on, it's hard for them to know.
You know, what you're describing here is not unique to us, but do we have any significant cost overruns or change orders or anything like that happening?
Anything to do with material, I have no change orders whatsoever. That was all locked in for pricing back in spring. And they were all, every one of my contractors was informed when we gave contracts out to get the material prices locked in and ordered immediately. And so there's no change orders for material price increases at all. And so, kind of jumping into the Hydrocam tanks too, I have 3/4 of my equipment here. I have all my uprights. I'm simply waiting on 3 plastic tanks. They hold all the chemicals, the wash chemicals, all the stuff that we use for when we're washing the trucks through the automated wash. Again, the rumor is that they're stuck on the West Coast, but I can't get any confirmation or anything at this point in time.
The plumbers have plumbed up to where the tanks are gonna sit, but without having the tanks on site, we don't know the exact elevations of the inlets and outfalls.
The ballpark guess here, how much of this equipment that's not here or that has arrived, was manufactured in the good old USA?
Oh, I'd have to go back and check the certificates.
Well, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if I know.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't, I'd have to go back and check the certificates, because a lot of the equipment that we get to is not one single piece. And so it could be a bunch of separate pieces that maybe it was put together in the US, but it could have been parts and pieces shipped from across the world to get to that point.
I know some of the electrical components, the boxes, and most of that's stamped over in India and brought back over here. And then the internal gears and guts are put in them.
Well, and like my bar joists, so like we have a bright side of material is I have all of my bar joists here at the main facility. My entire roof system is sitting on site right now. Just waiting for the precast to be erected so we can put it up. That steel was probably shipped over from China, but was manufactured in the US. All of my bar joists were actually put together by Can-Am here in the US.
Bar joists all metal?
Yep, all steel. And then the last little bit of material that I'm missing is actually a few flange packs. Believe it or not, it's nothing much, just a few pieces of flange packs to get the import heat operational in the main facility. Again, still just kind of, I mean, they were ordered back in, those were actually ordered, I believe, back in May. I think I got those. I didn't get it on there, of course, I missed that, but they were promised to me in October 11th, and I still don't know that. I don't have an estimated date of arrival on those yet, so. Again, staying in contact with my contractors, getting updates from them as much as I can, but they're only able to give me so much, with what the suppliers give them as well. Now with, like I said before, with the material that I am missing, we do have a good substantial amount of it on site. Like I said, I have my entire roof system of steel sitting on site. If you've driven by, you'll see all that metal sitting up behind the wash building. Mass amounts of it. That's all from main facility. All of my roofing materials. All the insulation that is so hard to get a hold of right now is actually all sitting in the field to the north.
All metal doors are on site.
All metal doors are
All
on
wood
site.
doors are on site.
So we've been trying to get everything that we possibly can, even if I don't need it at this point in time, to the site and stored, so that when we do need it, it's ready. We're just waiting on these few items that just tend to, every project is having issues with. I haven't talked to anybody, so.
All the material you have on site, how is that being protected?
So the items that need to be protected, I do have covered up. The steel bar joists, generally they're gonna be fine. They are all powder coated, primed, and they will actually be cleaned up and painted when they're installed. So there won't be any rust or anything included on those. All of the roofing insulation is all saran wrapped tight. If you drive by it, you'll see it's all wrapped in white saran wrap, and it's actually how they store it outside too, in their fields and everything, or wherever they store it before they ship it to us. Same with the rubber roofing TPO and everything. It's all wrapped up tight, saran wrap, just like they'd stored out in their outside their shops and everything when they make it. So we don't let anything that's gonna rust or that shouldn't be outside store outside. Everything that needs to be kept clean or warm is actually all stored inside either the wash bay or UH1. UH1, I actually have about halfway full right now of plumbing and HVAC equipment stacked inside there, as well as lights for electricians as well.
Anything that's of high value, we have under lock and key or out of everyday sight. Like the windows you shut up, you'll see two brand new Connex boxes sitting along Taylor Avenue. That's where all the windows are stored. And the only person that's got a key for those is the window guy, the window installer. So we are trying to keep everything organized and locked up as much as possible.
You mentioned this wash bay, and I think you referred to cars, but it will do the wash of the squad trucks and
Yep,
everything?
it'll do, it's a full wash. The interior height of the wash is 14.6.
Yeah, something like that. It's
Oh,
tall
just-
enough to quad.
Basically, if you think about going into an actual car wash, now it's got the big wash over the top here. You pull in, it's got underbody wash, side spinners, they take care of the wheels and, the rocker panels. And then it proceeds, it's got red light, green lights down the side of the room. So as it finishes the cycle, the green light will turn on, you proceed forward. Red light will turn on, you stop, the next safe phase of the wash.
When this is completed, maybe we can get a demonstration of this.
Oh, yeah.
We'll let you go first, John.
That sounds, do you have to take the plow off and the sanding equipment?
It can go in fully loaded, minus having the hopper full, but it can go in with all the wings on, front plow on.
Really?
You can take the grader through there, you can take the dozer through there. When we ordered it, we measured the widest machinery that Marion County had, which would have been the paper. So that was the widest for the A-frames to be, or the hoop structure to be.
And the auditorium, you're just starting that today, right?
Okay, yeah, we can move into that then to, for the auditorium. So I have been in contact with All Construction daily, since they've had this project started. They are gonna be mobilizing, their trailer is outside right now, they've done a little bit of work in there, but they're gonna be fully working on the auditorium tomorrow. So tomorrow is the official real start date for the auditorium, I guess you could say, when they're gonna tear into it. They did give me a schedule for it, so we do have a plan laid out in place to be completed before the finish date that we have marked out for the contract, and so we are planning on hitting that and being complete. I'll be, I am at Barron County, of course, daily, so I'll be over here daily as well, probably taking care of and watching over and making sure everything's going there as well. But at this point, the update I have is they're fully starting construction tomorrow. Asbestos abatement is scheduled and we have a time for it to go, so.
Audio architects has already been in there.
Yep, audio architects has been there and got it all out of there.
Electronics portion.
Any questions, or further questions for these individuals? Okay,
When is the auditorium scheduled to be completed?
May 1st. Yep, it should be done before that. The plan is to be done a few weeks before that. But we just want to make sure we have a little bit of fluff in there, just for anything that might go wrong, so.
Larson Cabinets has been working with Zach already, so for the dust and all that. They're
control that.
working on that portion.
That's way above my pay scale.
Yes, I should have colors and everything here soon, actually, too, to get picked out, so.
Any further questions for these individuals? Thanks for the presentation, it was real thorough, thank you. Okay, item number 9, resolution supporting Mosaic Technologies, Inc., the USDA Rural Reconnect Grant. I believe that was on page 8 and 9 of your packet. Mosaic has been a really good corporate partner with Barron County, and they're just no monetary, money, it won't cost us anything, it's just our support, which I fully think we should do. So could I get a motion to pass that resolution? Supervisor Skinner, seconded by Supervisor Heineke. Does anybody have any questions or concerns? If not, all those in favor of passing that resolution for Mosaic indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Okay, pass, thank you. Item number 10, the zoning ordinance amendment. They had the rezoning, I guess we just had that one rezoning. And does anybody get a motion to approve that? Motion by Supervisor Schradel, second by Supervisor Heineke. Anybody have any questions on that rezoning? If not, all those in favor of passing that indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same signs? Pass, thank you. Item number 11, a resolution authorizing the redemption of the taxable general obligation solid waste management bond series 2010A dated March 11, 2010. As Jeff indicated in his memo, it's going to save us $8,268 to do it. And there's no downside, is there, Jeff? Okay, get a resolution to approve that. Motion by Supervisor Gores, second by Supervisor Buchanan. Anybody have any questions or concerns on that resolution? Not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Thank you, that's passed. Consent, single consent item for items number 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Did I get a motion to approve those? Motion by Supervisor Olson. Second by Supervisor Heller. Any concerns on any of those? Not, all those in favor of approving those 5 resolutions and the emergency wardens for Barron County indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign? That motion's carried.
Does there have to be I don't know how technical it is here, but what do you call them? On 13, isn't that supposed to be, number 5, they're full-time officers, not full-time?
Yes, it should be full-time, yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's technical or not to have that.
Yeah,
yeah. If you want to make sure.
I think Jeff will make sure the resolution says that.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, item number 17, a report from our county administrator.
Okay, just give me just a second. You have my update on there, I'll just go over it briefly. As you know, the ARPA expenditure updates are in your packet. However, with the final rules that go into effect on April 1st, because the final rules are very explicit, and if you read them, the housing authority, in my opinion, definitely falls 100% in the new ruling, whether it's lost revenue calculation or specifically for that purpose, because it has a very specific clause on low-income housing meets the definition of where to spend the money. So we've got 2 areas there on that. So in talking to Mr. Rubin, there's really no sense of us going ahead with this writing this resolution for two reasons. Number one, we have until April 1st, and number two, and talking to Tom Landgraf, we're probably not gonna know if we get the money for the housing authority until the end of the year, which leads to point 2A, and that is, if you've been keeping your ear to the financial news, you know that right now, the low-income housing credits are an extremely hot topic. It's really, really getting competitive for the Verizons of the world, the AT&Ts to get these housing credits, and you put them in their portfolio. So hopefully we win that battle. Item 17C, as you know, we've been working for a long time on an out-of-network claim on a surprise billing for one of our people, for one of our employees, as a result of a claim that they didn't, by definition, that by definition they approved, but that they didn't know was a surprise billing. We're gonna be working on that this week. We've turned this over to Alex Beaudry. We hope to have something ironed out on that by the 1st of March. Maybe next month, we'll have to have a closed session to discuss that, because it has to do with HIPAA protected stuff. And then
That won't happen in the future because they've had legislation on January 1st that stops that kind of practice.
January 1st of this year, Wisconsin passed a law that you can no longer surprise bill somebody. So let me give you an example. You're in Wisconsin and you're from Indiana and you fall off the boat and you break both your legs and you're laying on the seashore, or you're laying on the side of one of our lakes, and they send out 2 ambulances, the fire department, and a helicopter to pick you up. They can no longer surprise bill you for that at their total rate. They have to bill you at what the going rate is for the area. They can't bill you just to bill you. They have to bill you based on a preset formula of what's going on in the area. So that was called a surprise billing. So that was a really excellent piece of legislation passed. Got a nice thank you from the Sons of Norway. They've been using this, and on my appointments, do not approve 18B. All I'm asking is you approve 18A, 18B. Wendy just got her, she was off 1 year on that. So we'll have the appointments for Health and Human Services for the next 3-year term at the February meeting. So all we need to approve tonight is for Mr. Smotlock, who is from Russ County, and he would be on that board as a consumer. So
I get a motion to approve that appointment for the ADRC governing board. Motion by Supervisor Renzig, second by Supervisor Banks. Is there any discussion on that? Concerns? Not all those in favor of approving that appointment indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign? That motion's carried. Item number 19, claims, petitions, and correspondence. John? Don't have any? Okay. Suggestions for future items?
what do you want to do? I would like some head nods or something about the April meeting. If we're probably not going to be in the auditorium, that would be our organizational meeting. We need to have everybody in person. It would be one of the meetings, Louis, because we're going to vote, we're going to have appointments, we're going to have a highway committee. I'd like some head nods now. I've already checked with Domenico for Naro. Mosaic would be open, but I'd like to reserve that room now because I think this is going to be pretty small, put all 29 in.
It will. In fact, didn't we do that exactly?
No.
We didn't.
No.
Okay, it's gotta be done here.
It's got to be done here. So I don't know if you want to do it now or if I just get some head nods to get it. Oh, because we should vote on it in February
Right,
to move it.
Can we do it right now?
No, it's not on the agenda, but
Okay.
we're gonna have to do it. That'd be a future agenda item to actually have a formal vote to move there on April, whatever I said, 19th. I think it should be the 9th. We should actually meet there and that would give Lance a chance to get the technology set up and so on.
How did the meeting go for you people that are remotely? Could you hear everything? Could you see everything? So you wouldn't be opposed to doing this, using this room again for February and March? Okay, so let's plan on it. It's easier for the staff if we stayed here February and March, but Mosaic, I think we should go in there because we all have to be in person. It's an organizational meeting. And this room's not gonna hold us all, so does anybody have a problem with going to Mosaic for our April organization meeting?
It's April 19th.
April
It is
19th,
April 19th. Okay. So I'll confirm that tomorrow then.
okay, so we'll go ahead and get that set up then.
All right.
And thanks. Next meeting is February 21st at 5 PM, be right here.
Yep.
Anything else? Not by unanimous consent, we'll adjourn at 6:07. Thanks, everybody.